should people be even do-it-yourselfing their own windows, or should they always be working with a professional?
If they know how to install it properly, I don't care really who installs the window. So I've seen professionals install them incorrectly. I've seen DIY people install them incorrectly. So I think if you install a window correctly, I mean, honestly, a good crafty DIY person is probably going to install the window better than the professional window guy, just like the average window guy. The reason is the average window guy is getting paid per the window. He just wants to get it in, get paid, move on to the next job. It'll be a decent installation. Where the DIY person, they may take a day per window, but you know what? It's going to be installed correctly because they're going to follow everything to the T. It's their house. They care more about it. So sometimes I might find that the DIY guys will install better if they have the proper instructions. Now that's the key though, because a lot of DIYers and professionals, as I'm driving around, I was like, hey, those are great windows installed incorrectly. Remember what I said earlier? Like, you can have an amazing window that's still going to leak. So it doesn't matter how much you pay for the window. If you have a bad installation, then it's kind of pointless. So like around the edges, you need to make sure that's air sealed. You need to make sure that water stays out of the whole assembly. There's ways of doing that, special ways of doing the flashing. Water is going to get into the building envelope. It's going to get into the wall assembly. You have to make sure that it can dry out. You have to make sure that the primary, the first layer, the exoskeleton of the house has a way of getting water off the house, good flashing, good siding. I know you mentioned, on your house, and I've seen a lot of houses where you can have one piece of flashing installed incorrectly and, thousands of dollars of damage later. Same thing with windows. Windows are called openings by architects. So, I mean, we call them windows like, hey, it's pretty, but it's an opening. This is less, per foot, this is the most inefficient part of your house right here because it's letting all that energy out or the energy in, depending on what time of the year it is. This is also an opening that if you don't have the proper flashing around it, can let water, moisture into the house. So I would say the most important thing on your house, besides air sealing and making sure you have a good drainage plane, good water resistant barrier. We talked about having the perfect wall system. You can have the perfect wall with all the different layers, the thermal control layer, the water control layer, and then you pop one of these bad boys in the middle of it, installed incorrectly. Well, you just negated all that work because this could be leaky, it could let water in. And also if you install too many of these, like windows are great, allows that natural daylight in, but you want to look at that balance. How much natural daylight do you want in versus the energy loss that you have because you're paying for that conditioned air inside of your house. So windows are good if you design them properly and also install them properly.
And also if you, interesting because the installation is so important, like you said, with a draft, it's, very often the ceiling, not the window. So I think that's why windows are so confusing to the average person, the average consumer who's not a builder or an expert. And so I guess that was part of my question is I guess I would rely on you. Obviously you're in Georgia, but if I was in Georgia, I'd rely on you. Although I don't know, being from Massachusetts, I might beg you to come here and rescue me. But it's I guess it's just like your builder, your architect, your window distributor. I mean, the question is like, what's the best way to do this research if I'm because you already know, but if I'm not you, what's the best way we can tell people like where should they start their research online with a retailer or just straight from their builder or maybe their architect or all the above?
I actually recommend homeowners doing a lot of the research themselves. More often than not, like my clients come to me with some like really good ideas, like, hey, I've been researching this type of paint. I'm very knowledgeable on this. So if my clients have done no research at all, I ask them, 10 or 12 questions, and then I basically come up with a window and door scheme for them. Depends on the certification. If we're doing a passive house, well, there's limited options with that. If I'm doing just like a basic, we just need like a borderline Energy Star compliant window. Well, that gives us, that's less stringent, but it is still pretty stringent compared to just a basic code-built window. So first of all, you have to establish like how energy efficient do you want the house? Because automatically that's going to cut out some of the windows. I'm not going to use this window on a passive house. I probably can make this window work in a passive house with a lot of work. I know that window in the end just has a tighter seal, and I don't have to worry about the air infiltration on it. Then it comes down to, I guess, people can start with just asking questions in the comments. We've got lots of videos on the site already where people ask questions. We've got articles written on it. It's not an easy decision. Sometimes architects are going to know the best answer. A lot of times architects are not designing around energy efficiency. They may have too many windows. They may have windows on the wrong sides of the house. So if you're in North America and you have a lot of windows on the east or west side of the house, again, we're trying to be south facing, getting some of that passive energy, but also that passive sunlight. You're not going to have that direct glare on the west side of your house when all the sun's coming in, or like when the sun's rising on the east side of the house. So if you have a green architect or one that's leaning towards, like, I'm designing this towards a green building certification, more often than not, they're going to understand windows and they're going to understand the HVAC system, the building envelope really well. If you're designing, working with an architect that, man, this stuff looks pretty, but they don't really talk about LEED, they don't talk about Passive House, they don't talk about Energy Star or the green building certifications, then you may have to do some research on your own, because they're going to go say, hey, the shop-built window looks great and it's a good price, but you're really wanting durability, you're wanting performance, you're wanting resilience, a lot more factors than they're factoring in. So not every architect and not every builder. I mean, like I said, builders are kind of at the end. They're stuck with whatever decisions the architect design team made going into it. And a lot of times they're stuck with a shop-built window because that's all the budget will work with, and especially if they're in a competitive bid situation. Like, they're not going to recommend a high performance window in a competitive bid situation because the budget's calling for this. If they offer the better window, then they're going to get bid out if the client's only looking at price. So when I tell people that they're deciding on it, this window, ironically, is cheaper than this window over 50 years. So that's what people have to look at, is like, what is the life cycle analysis of this? Same thing with a lot of HVAC systems, trim and whatnot. If something's going to fail within 5 years and replacing it every 5 years, or something's going to, may cost twice as much, but it's going to last 50 years, well, that's actually a better deal.
So it's a really great point to take in, into factor. How are you going to use this house? How long will this building be here? How long will you be in this building? Like, what are all of these factors? And maybe I can do a write-up based on maybe giving people just some of the factors. Because you've mentioned also different climate zones. So it's going, like you said, it's going to vary by the particular home, the style, where it is, what people's goals are. So hopefully we can help them with some of those specific questions, although you have mentioned many of them already. So that's super helpful. Thanks, Matt. There's a lot of great information here. I think that will really help people as they think about their windows, actually, as they think about their whole home and their design and energy and health and comfort goals. I wish we'd had this conversation before I replaced my own windows, but I hope I know this information will help a lot of other people out there, and certainly including our members. So thank you very much.
Hey, not a problem. And the good news is we've talked to lots of different window manufacturers. So we have a full playlist, not only this video, if you want to make sure that you have all the questions answered regarding to like these windows, but also other windows in the past. We're going to have like 10 to 20 videos in that playlist. So make sure you hit that playlist over there, hit the like and subscribe button so you can get more great content just like this.